What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sigma
Hey,
Show. Uh, Happy for you folks to be joining us, whoever's out there. I know very early on in the show, there's not that many people, but I'm gonna talk to you anyway. That's how this works. But before we go into who's joining me today, I just want to do a quick rundown of what we're going to be talking about. Not a particularly heavy news week, in light of the election, and next gen consoles right around the corner. So who's really going to be announcing all that much? Nobody. But in light of that, we're going to be talking about some of the games we've been checking out in that lead up. So that should be a fun conversation. We're also going to dig deep onto the Johnny Depp situation where he's been fired or asked to leave the Fantastic Beasts franchise. We'll also go into details on all the Mass Effect news. N7 Day was yesterday, so the Mass
yeah.
Effect trilogy is coming, and the new Mass Effect has been announced. So, joining me today to talk about these things, as always, Mr. Blue, welcome.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me back, Sigma.
No problem. As well as Superman Jeff,
What's going on, everybody?
and my coworker
Why
and
you?
good friend, Rexicon Jesse Galena. What's up, Jesse?
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we're gonna jump right into things, starting with what we've been playing. We're gonna keep it short than we usually do when we do these segments because we play a lot of games, as I'm sure you guys are aware of. So kind of just focus in on one game for this discussion. Who's kind of chomping at the bit to go first?
I'll go first.
Your boy.
Oh, Jeff was quicker
This
to the
dude's-
to the draw.
No, it's his lag. It's his lag.
Okay,
This is
yeah,
happening.
let's go. Okay.
So go ahead, Blue. Jeff is conceding to you.
I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. I've been telling everybody about it. I love it.
Mhm.
And it was a fan favorite out the gates, but I'm kind of rediscovering it because I just got back into the story, and this multiplayer is amazing. I got up to key level 110 recently, which is just it's the max key level, which is like light in Destiny. And I'm raid ready. Me and some of my friends from Crit Zone actually did the first part of the raid, and it was so fun. When I
See,
tell you, it's like
I've
a
been hearing about raid this, raid that, Ghost of Tsushima. Like, yeah,
it's
that's cool to
dope.
hear that they're putting that much effort into the multiplayer portion of it.
It was difficult too. It wasn't just like kill room pathway, kill room pathway. No, there was all kinds of tactics that had to go into this. You had challenges that took away certain abilities. So, for example, you would be in an area, you have to pick up this flame, and it would say you can't do melee attacks anymore,
I thought that
and
game was all
you have
melee attacks.
to kill without doing. It's not. Oh, and that's the thing about it. It's not. You have ghost weapons where you can throw out caltraps, you could throw sticky bombs, kunai, and you also have your bow and arrow or your blow dart or your bomb pack, which are different ranged options. So things like that. You would have your hunter, your ranger, pick up disability like that because they're not trying to do melee attacks. So there's a lot of tactics that go involved into something. In some of these kill rooms, and there's a lot of bonuses and a lot of there's a lot of cooperation. I could not do this with just some random people with no communication. You
That's
have
good
to
to hear.
talk. You have to talk. It's so much fun. And we only hit chapter 1, and it took us about 3 hours, I want to say,
Mm.
of really good work. And
For
we
just the
didn't
first
die
part.
just the first part. There's 3 parts total.
Jeez.
So I'm super excited to get on to the next one. I think we're gonna try it tonight.
So
or
it saves
maybe
your
tomorrow.
progress. It's like checkpoint after.
Oh yeah,
Okay, that's
exactly.
good.
That's what they got. Oh my gosh, because when we did Destiny 2 raids back in the
Right,
day,
that's exactly where my
those
brain
took
went.
hours. You know what I mean? But no, you could log your 2 or 3 hours. Whoo, take a break. You know what I mean? And then come right back to it and start chapter 2. So
Good,
chapter 1's
nice.
done. I am super excited. Yeah.
Destiny does let you save it. You just once the reset hits. The save
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there are sort of checkpoints in Destiny, but
Yeah, it's at each boss. Each boss is a checkpoint.
you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. But it always felt like you were throwing away the entire progress because, like, if you didn't do it in that night, like your team kind of dissolved and like they hated each other.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's funny you
Unfriend
mentioned that.
him,
'Cause you-
unfriend him.
How many people you got in a raid for Destiny? It's like 6, right?
Yeah,
It is so difficult getting 6 people together to
yeah,
do
it
this
is.
on a, if it's not a just a random matchmaking thing where you don't have to communicate. Um, but with this, it's only 4,
Oh, okay.
and I think it works really good for 4 people. There's a lot of puzzles where 3 people are blinded to a certain element, and the one person has to direct them where to go. Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah,
it's a lot of
I
fun.
like stuff that forces the team dynamic to be part of the gameplay experience. Like that's interesting. That makes
It's
a
great.
raid
Yeah.
feel like a raid, in my opinion.
And you can really tell the advantages of having one of every class in your team. Now, you could double up if you want to, but you don't have that variety of attack patterns. Um, there's a lot of moments where we're like, "Yo, we need the ranger to take this guy out here. You stand over here, hold this down, protect him, but the ranger needs to shoot over here." Or I'm gonna heal down and hold this place, and you guys run out. Just come back to me if you need heal. Different things like that. You know what I mean? Um, the different classes are vast, and everyone can really pick up everybody else. It's fun. I, I
Nice.
I love what they're doing with it. Yeah,
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 I'm
I'm excited
definitely
to
gonna
get
give that a try.
to that eventually.
it's dope, man.
But Jeff, you wanted to go next. What have you been playing?
Um, I've been playing Watch Dogs Legion.
Right.
Mm.
I've been playing that pretty steadily. And I'm loving it. The variety of different characters. I think you saw some gameplay of it before. You play as the Hitman, where you have like these John Wick s
Right. Yeah, I
takedowns.
saw that
You're
trailer
like,
thing that they
yeah,
showed.
you're like, it's a bunch of. It just reminds you so much of John Wick. Then there's a spy who has like a watch, a James Bond watch, where you can jam people's weapons. He also has a car that's outfitted with like missiles and rockets.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, it's pretty cool, and you really can make anyone part of, your team. For instance, I was playing a mission where Albion, which is pretty much part of the bad guys group, you can make them part of your group. The problem is they initially don't like DedSec, so you have to kind of do like a loyalty mission to kind of win them
Hmm.
over, and then you can have that conversation like, "Hey, come over here."
Have you done like a
Um,
lot of those? Like, do they, like, is there a good variety in the kinds of missions you do to recruit people?
There's a good variety. There's also ways around it. So what happens is there's something called a deep profiler, which is pretty much, let's just say, a background check. You can see where this person's going to be at this time, what they're going to be doing at this time, and you can check those spots on the map. Like if she's going to be with her husband having dinner at a restaurant, you can find that restaurant and you can tell them to figure out the best approach. So like sometimes you will actually see a character being harassed by the police, like beaten up and handcuffed, and they'll have a symbol by them telling them, "Oh, this is such and such's cousin." So you definitely
Oh.
want to interrupt, take the police out, and free them because then
Huh.
that's a shortcut. They automatically now, hey, you helped my cousin or whoever, my fiance. Now we definitely want to be a part of what you're doing. So
Huh.
that's a quicker way around it as opposed to just missions. So that's usually what I'll do. I'll do the deep profiler and tail them and wait for them to get in some trouble. And then what's funny is you have to actually wait for the cops to beat them up and handcuff them because if you interrupt them while they're doing that, it doesn't count. They have to be
Mm.
handcuffed and waiting
They
to be
have to
arrested.
be at their lowest point, and you have to be like, "I
Dang.
got
You
you."
got to come in and save the day like a shonen
That's
protagonist.
low key exploitative.
It
You know what I
is.
mean? Like it's an opportunist thing.
Totally. And it makes you. I felt bad at first because you're watching and they're really beating him
Yeah.
up. I mean, like he was talking to the guy. The guy was talking. He just hit him in the throat with the butt of his gun. I was like, oh, this went bad fast. I was like, okay, so that's pretty cool. There was one mission that really stuck out to me, which was like there's branches to the main story, and
Hmm.
this is one of those branches where it really reminded me of Mass Effect, where
Hmm.
you had to make a real tough decision whether somebody was going to live or die. I'm not going to give the specifics; I don't want to spoil it. But you had to
Yeah.
make that decision. Only thing I don't like is that no matter what decisions you made, it didn't affect your world in any way. All it did was change the dialogue from a character who
Mm,
wouldn't help you after that,
Hmm.
but actually came back and apologized and helped you anyway. So it made it to me like, why give me the choice if there were going to be
it's
no,
not substantial
yeah.
enough of an effect.
Ah,
Yeah.
dang. That's a
So that
shame.
that's what kind of got me. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, I get to make a decision. I love that. Let's see what's going to happen when I make this choice. And what happened was I made my choice. I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with that.
And it
Let me
didn't
see
really
what.
matter.
Yeah, I was like, let me see what would have happened on the opposite choice, and there was no difference. So just if you're gonna put decisions like that in your game, they need to affect the world, especially in a game like this where
They need to pay off.
yeah, definitely have to make
Definitely.
some type. Yeah, so and that's pretty much all I've been playing. I think I'm pretty much at the end of it. This will be like the first game I've beaten in like since like
Odyssey.
Origins. Actually, I didn't finish Odyssey because there's just
Oh
so
my
much.
goodness.
Yeah, it's impossible to finish Odyssey, I hear.
Yeah,
But
and that's,
about how long do you think it is then? If you're nearing the end, like how much time have you put into it?
I say about 15 hours.
That's not bad. That's not. I would expect the Ubisoft open world thing to be much more bloated than that.
And that's also because I'm doing a lot of side stuff and just recruiting characters, and I'm not just going through the story. I will
Right,
say
right.
they need to definitely once I'm getting through that, I feel like there's not much left. Like hopefully they are adding an online in December, so I'm wondering what that's gonna look like.
Hmm.
Some online multiplayer. I'm not sure what that's gonna actually look like.
That might
Um,
be a selling point for me.
yeah, I'm hoping there's gonna be something substantial with it, and I'm guessing there is because they did push it back outside of the original release date, so I'm not sure. The last one was nothing to write home about, where you kind of just like invaded like another character's game, and I think you played as like a random thug in that game or something, if I'm not mistaken. You didn't
Oh,
actually,
you talking about in the
because me and Sigma played it. Was
the
that
one that took place in NorCal in Silicon Valley,
the one?
where
Are you talking about the
The,
first one, like the original Watch Dogs,
the
or
first
Watch
one,
Dogs 2?
the two was the same. The multiplayer was the same as the first one. Where you kind of just
yeah,
invade
it
another
was
person. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
terrible.
really.
it was. If I remember correctly, it was like a Dark Souls invasion type thing,
Yeah.
where you would
But
get a
then
notification that someone's in your area trying to hack you, and then you would have to like find them and then shoot them
Hmm.
before.
counter hack.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't any more involved than that. If I don't think. But
No.
very
So
cool.
I'm guessing there'll be a little bit more with this one because the like I said, it was
Fingers
released after.
crossed.
Yeah, if they were just doing the same old same, I feel like that would have came out with the initial release. But we'll see.
Okay. So Jesse, did you want to go into yours or?
Yeah, I just built a new computer, and so I've been trying to,
Hey,
yeah. So I was like, all right, I got to stress test it, make sure everything's running at a cool temperature,
Mm-hmm.
everything's running smoothly. So I was like, what's the best thing I have access to? It's like probably Control Ultimate Edition.
Mm.
there
So
you
put
go.
that on, max graphics, full ray tracing, all that jazz, and played it. I somehow forgot how enjoyable that game is, despite it being my favorite game that I reviewed last year. That is a satisfying game to play.
Nice.
It
So
looks
it's the ultimate edition. Like, what did they add with that? Because I still haven't actually gone and played the base version yet, but I know the
uh,
ultimate edition has all the things that were added, right?
yeah, I believe so. Like because it had two DLCs that came out,
Mm.
and then I think that they might have done something to kind of bump the graphics up a little bit, or something with the ray tracing. Not exactly sure. Might be wrong on that. Uh, but it is gorgeous, and it does run really smoothly on my new
Oh, I bet.
computer, which is
I
nice.
bet that looks amazing. I definitely want to try that
Yeah,
out.
it looks really good. It's really fun, and like I thoroughly enjoyed the story, and I really want to play through it again.
Like from
A fun
beginning to
fact.
end again.
Yeah, I started from the beginning. I was like, well, I couldn't reload a save file, and just like, but
Sit down. Oh wow,
man, it's so good.
that speaks a lot to it. I'm
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I got to start over, I'm like, I don't know. I did see that actually Quantum Break, Control, and Alan Wake are actually part of the same universe.
Yeah,
I
I
did
thought
see
that
that
was pretty
too.
interesting.
Yeah.
world.
Oh, are we losing Jesse Little?
I
Uh-oh.
think it froze.
I don't know if Jesse can still hear us, but his
Oh
camera just
no.
froze. So he may need to jump out and back in.
But
Oh, there we go.
Control looks crazy. Oh,
It does
Yeah, he's
look
back
good.
now. Can you hear us, Jesse?
Yes, I can now. All right.
All right,
I don't know
there you
why
go.
my internet just blipped, but what happens sometimes, I guess.
Live TV. Lampy says Jesse's new computer can run Control fine, but not Discord.
That is it's a little telling.
Too stressful. Ugh.
Shout out
the-
to Lammy, always with the quick remarks.
But is that it for you, Jesse? Just want to bring up Control.
Yeah, for games that I've been playing for fun. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the one I got right now. And Jackbox 7, because,
That's new too, right?
social distancing. Yeah, it is. They came out,
Like a
I
couple
think,
weeks ago.
yeah, it's fun. They have good games in it.
Nice.
I definitely got to check it. I got to update my collection. Man. Those games really pass time and get a lot of folks that aren't gamers together.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
As for me, this wasn't super recent, but the game that still kind of ended up scratching at the back of my head is I talked to you guys, Jeff and Blue, about this some time ago, but I saw the trailer for a game called Ghost Runner, and it like instantly grabbed me, like just the look of
Yeah.
it. I never checked out the demo, but I was maybe gonna review it. I started it up, and then it was pulled off that review, so my priority shifted to something else, so I put it down. But that game is actually really freaking fun. Like the caveat is that it's very difficult. It's essentially if you take Genji from Overwatch and made him
Yep.
the main character from Celeste, if that makes any sense.
It looks like Mirror's Edge too.
Yeah, that's
Kind
what I
of,
was
yeah,
thinking.
because it's like
Yeah.
first person, like tons of wall running, whatnot. It's very much so a splatformer. Like it's got the exact matter of fact. If you guys remember Katana Zero,
Yeah,
it's
I've been
literally
playing
that,
a lot,
but a
actually.
first person game. Like there's no shooting. You have a sword in your hand. You wall run. You jump over things. You dash around. You kill things in one hit. Everything kills you in one hit. When you die, you immediately start back at the beginning of that quick section.
checkpoint.
Yeah, so it's like
Dang.
very twitchy, very frenetic. Like you move really quick. The controls give you like a ton of stuff to do, and I say this all the time. Like I love it when I just have a bunch of buttons to press, and it's like you
Yeah.
know your jump is on the shoulder button because you need to be able to look around while you're jumping and stuff. So like you can jump, you can wall run, you can like dash, you can like grapple points in the environment. If you time your sword swing with when enemy projectiles are coming at you, you can actually block or reflect them back. So like it gives you
Yeah.
so much to think about all at once, and like it keeps your brain kind of just looking all over the place. And I absolutely love that.
Man, that is
Man,
the
that-
most solid pitch I've heard for that game. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, because it is hard. Like it's that kind of frustrating hard where like you will die
Yeah.
like 70, 80, 100 times in just one section.
Yeah.
But then when you complete it, it's like, yes, finally, and then you start the whole
You're getting
process
closer
over again in
and
the next
closer.
one.
Yeah.
But man, it's a
The
really
way
good
you
time.
the way you described the stimulation you get from that is how I felt about the Star Wars Squadrons game, where
Mm.
there's just so many facets to the movement that you don't have a chance to look away. You know, if your phone rings or if you get a text message, you're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's
Ain't no,
really unforgiving.
yeah, but
Delicious here.
it's
Leave it at
exhilarating
the
at the same time.
door.
leave it at the door. Leave it. I'm saving the galaxy right now. Leave it at the door.
Like, even that interaction is enough to just get you killed. Like it needs 100%
Real talk,
focus.
yeah.
But that pretty much does it for me and all of us. Thanks for sharing, guys. We're gonna move on to our next topic, which is gonna be probably a very contentious one. I know a lot of people have just recently heard of the news about Johnny Depp being removed from his role as Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts series. Jesse says it's going over his head. But there's been a lot of controversy surrounding like Harry Potter and Harry Potter adjacent things, like
Yeah.
for the back half of this
J.K.
year,
Rowling.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this is kind of just one more thing on top of it, and why I think this is an interesting discussion is because it kind of brings up that old age question of like, what do you do when a franchise or a property or something that you love is kind of tainted by all these outside factors? Like, if you don't know what the situation is, I'll quickly go over it. Johnny Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard, they're both actors. They have had a long, drawn-out like dispute between one another. She's accused him of being abusive to her. He has accused her of being abusive to him. Both of which are saying that the other person is lying about the other person, right? Early on, Johnny Depp caught a ton of flack because as you know, like the Me Too movement has gained a lot of popularity. People are less what's the word I'm looking for? People are more inclined, I want to say, to believe victims first and to then, move on from there. And this was one of
Yeah.
the rare scenarios where it seemed like the victim might have been lying because Johnny Depp kind of came back with a bunch of information that seemed to exonerate him. But he recently sued a London newspaper called the Sun Times.
Something like that.
Son,
I'll confirm that for you.
So he just went to court with this paper against the libel suit because they wrote, that he was abusive and whatnot. He lost that case. The ruling basically said that based on all the information provided by the attorneys and whatnot, Johnny Depp is actually abusive to Amber Heard. And in light of that, he was pulled from the movie. So there are people who are getting one side of this story, people who are getting the other side of the story, and as is probably always the case, there's something in between that no one really knows. But at the core of it, the Harry Potter extended universe is kind of the victim of all of. Well, I don't call it the victim, but it's kind of
A victim.
It's kind of caught in the crossfire of all of this back and forth. So I just really want to get an understanding of like what are you guys' connections to Harry Potter and like what's your take on these outside forces affecting such a pop culture medium or in general.
So for me, I've seen all of the movies. I've read a couple of the books. I haven't seen all the Fantastic Beasts. Now, I won't say I'm an uber fan, but I do enjoy the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Always something to watch around Christmas time because there was always like a Harry Potter marathon on. Like, what is it, like 25 Days of Christmas, Fox Family.
Yeah.
Always a Harry Potter movie on. You hate to see outside things affect a franchise, especially when it could result in the cancellation of it, because it only doesn't affect the fans, it affects the people who have already put in so much work on those projects. But also for me, I think it's always important to believe the victim first, because there has been a history of neglecting and putting things aside. But also, we have to do a thorough investigation before we assign blame, I believe. Like, if you ever remember the story of Richard Jewell, he was the person who found the bomb at the...
Right, that Clint Eastwood made a movie about that situation, right?
Yeah, and how they vilified him, how he without any evidence, they vilified him, made him the most hated person in America at that time. Getting harassed, everything. You name it, ruined this man's life. Possibly, and then come to find out, they found out who actually, was responsible for the bombings, and I think he won like a huge settlement or something like that. But it just shows that sometimes the media jumps the gun when assigning blame. And I think this is one of those things where it's I think his assistant was saying that Johnny Depp's assistant was saying that he had witnessed abuse from her towards him, and that they called instances and stuff like that, and then she had somebody who was saying the exact same thing. So it was pretty much, how do you determine who's telling the truth? And I think in an instance like that, you have to report both sides of it. You can't just report one side. I think it even said the assistant testified at the hearing in Britain, and like they even had what he was saying in the actual article.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're getting contradictory stories from both sides, I don't see how a judge comes with a clear definition of, even just the sheer statement that you were the abuser, not that we can't determine you weren't the abuser, which automatically gives an indication to me that this judge already had some type of idea of whether he thought he was guilty or not.
Mm-hmm.
In his head. So, that's just my take on it.
Makes sense. Anything to add? No, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, well, I was gonna. Yeah. You asked about our connection to the series as well, and my fiance, one of the first things I learned about her is she loves Harry Potter, and initially I did not, so I was like, all right, let me watch these movies, right? So we watched them, and I liked them more than I thought I would, right? I'm still not completely in love with the original series, but the Fantastic Beasts series, I was like, oh, I can get down with this. Right? So I watched the first one. And then the second one, Johnny Depp came out. I was like, yo, that was dope. I could be on board for this. And then this happens, and I'm just like, bruh. I really wanted this to continue because this is something that she loves, is really near and dear to her, this whole series, and it's something I'm actually genuinely getting into. And you're right, the fans are a victim of scandal like this, and it sucks. It sucks. So that's that's my initial reaction to all this. What now? Kind of going on the lines of what Jeff was saying. A lot of and what you were saying earlier too, Sigma. A lot of these incidents were him in self-defense. That's what the initial, I believe, the initial rulings were, that it was mostly him in self-defense, and she was making a lot of stuff up, just some insurance claims and all kinds of craziness. And while that's that at a certain point he decided to cross the line, throw hands. Now, what that means to me is that at some point he feared for his life. I don't know if at any other point it was the other way around, because I wasn't there, and a lot of this stuff isn't the ones where it was the other way around. There's not a bunch of evidence. A lot of he said, she said. So it's hard for me, and kind of like what Jeff was saying, to believe that a judge would just say, yeah, he's an abuser. This tabloid is right. That's rough. That's rough to just, as mixed up as this is, why would you make that declaration? I feel like it was a little irresponsible, and maybe I'm missing something, but it hurt probably a lot more people than the judge realized.
That makes sense. What about you, Jesse? Like, what's your take?
I am r/whoosh on this one. Johnny Depp is one of those people that I have actively, anytime I see his name pop up, I'm like, nope, move on. And like, don't even read what is, and that's been like years for that. So
right.
I'm completely out of it with him.
So completely unbothered by that notion of it.
I mean, yeah, the situation sounds terrible from pieces of it I've heard from today and other times where it's like I managed to accidentally hear enough to be like, that sounds bad. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna avoid that altogether.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's I do feel bad for people who enjoy that fandom, because with this, and then also just with J.K. Rowling,
right?
Oh my gosh!
And even Ezra Miller had some type of incident pop up as well.
Right? Yeah. I in reading this story, I had just heard that apparently Ezra Miller got in trouble for choking a woman in a nightclub.
Yeah.
Like, when the hell
Flash?
did that? Yes.
The Flash. He was quick with it too.
Oh, stop. That is no. Boo. Y'all boo this man. Don't laugh at that. Don't laugh at that. That's
that was
bad.
awful.
Bad Jeff. Bad Jeff. Stop. No.
Oh my god.
That is not good.
Oh jeez. But yeah, like,
we haven't heard anything about that in a while. I mean, I saw the initial release of it, but there had been nothing else.
But I mean, my takeaway is, and Lampy brings up a good point. The case wasn't about whether or not Johnny Depp did it. It was about if the claim made by the Sun in an article was libel or not. If you're not, if you're
definitely.
Which made the judge say worse, because I was like, it wasn't a case whether or not it was whether they had the journalistic integrity to
say that.
To say that what they were saying. The judge came and said, yeah, he was abusive. That's it.
Right. And it really wasn't hit like.
And that was a tipping point for WB to kick him off.
Probably.
Or to ask him to resign. You know
right, because
it wasn't before.
So I feel like the situation it's so muddy by now, and like it's really unfortunate, because if one or the other or both of them are being abused, like it's very possible it's just an extremely toxic relationship, and they just
Yeah.
need to leave and forget about each other. Like, just move on with your lives and like put all this behind you. But because it's so contentious and there's such vitriol, like somebody wants revenge on the other. You know, like they're fighting because
Yeah.
like they're hurt and they want the other person to be hurt.
And
That
they both
you know,
work for the WB for these movies. You
right?
had Aquaman, and
Yeah,
you had him working
she's
for the
Mira
Suicide
in
Squad.
Aquaman.
Yeah, so it's like,
But
you know,
she's keeping her job. Like people were asking for her to be removed from that movie, and like
oh yeah,
they I think they've stuck with her so far. Like she's not being
and they
recast
stuck with Johnny as well. I think,
until this, right?
yeah. So my question was,
That's
if
the
he had not
thing.
sued the newspaper, and this ruling had not came into play, I feel like he still would have been involved
Ben
with the project.
Griswold.
Yeah, I don't know if this was a requirement, like, hey, you need to get yourself exonerated from these claims. You know, we'll stick with you until a verdict arises.
Mm,
That's possible too.
After,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's
So,
very possible. Woof.
But I
Yeah.
don't
See,
know.
and just
No, go ahead.
like that point, that strategy that Jeff just brought up. There's a lot of things we don't know in the background on how people keep these contracts. Because one thing we do know is that Hollywood contracts are very meticulous,
mhm.
especially when it comes to the PR side of it, and and outside of the production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics, a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to see where these people are going or what they're doing. But I still don't see why the judge would just say, yeah, let's just call him an abuser.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like.
This paper has, you know, substantial evidence to, and it was all verified that they had sources, so that, you know, they covered themselves. They were right to post this. You know, whether it was actually true or not, they did have, you know, enough evidence to support what they were publishing. So that's my ruling. Not, you know, hey, you did it. It was you. You're the bad guy.
But I mean, even if it was worded differently, like in the way you're saying it, the information essentially does accuse him of being abusive to Amber Heard. So like, if they say what they printed was fine, like it's because libel means that they lied, like that they printed
Yeah, yeah.
false information. If he's saying what they printed is in fact true, then that by extension means Johnny Depp abused Amber Heard. So he is an abuser based on that ruling, regardless of how the judge phrases it.
No, I was saying the way he phrased it showed that he actually had a bias going into it. To me, like that already gave me an idea that he already had.
Well, I mean, but that was the ruling, though. Like, I would understand if by the end of the case you got all the information, he then formed an opinion and is now biased because he's like, after everything I've seen, Johnny Depp is a piece of shit.
I'm gonna give you a great example. Have you watched that movie on Netflix called "Was it the Trial of the Seven"?
Yes, I did with Sacha Baron
Okay.
Cohen, right?
Yeah, you see the judge came up with a verdict at the end of that, but he already had made up his mind.
But I mean, that's a different situation. Like,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
like that's a totally different situation because we don't know anything about the beginning of the trial or that judge. All we got was what he said at the end after a bunch of information was relayed. So sure, it's definitely a possibility that there was some bias on the judge, but I don't think anything that we've read in the news articles kind of inform us one way or the other.
So do we consider someone an abuser if these incidents are taken in self-defense?
I mean, that's an interesting question because
And that's what scares me about this case.
yeah, because once
because
again,
if-
like, how do we know the truth of that situation? Like, he's saying
Yeah,
he
no
did all
way.
this stuff in self-defense, but if the information provided says otherwise, and we don't have that, I don't know all the stuff that was
remember
thrown
the
in the
case
court.
before. The case before was saying that a lot of this was self-defense. She was making up stuff to put him in bad positions and
Yeah,
things like
he had
that.
medical records.
So
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. What is this judge saying that he did that makes this specifically abusive when a lot of these cases before were ruled as he was set up?
But then again, once again, that's not what they were ruling on. They were ruling on whether or not it was true what the paper said. So if he did these things in self-defense, doesn't change the fact that he did those things. If they printed about it, that still makes it
see,
true.
that's the thing. But that's the thing. Those things in self-defense. So if he's doing, is he abusing her in self-defense?
Well, you're saying
Is that
what you're saying is being looked at in like out of context.
Yeah.
So he looks bad
Yeah.
because it's out of the proper context.
She's like,
Yeah.
let's say she punched him in the face and he coiled up and hit her with an elbow by accident. the paper's gonna post that, oh, he elbowed her in the eye.
Right,
Without
yeah,
all the
that's
facts.
taking the situation
That's
out
what
of
I'm
context.
saying.
Yeah.
But the
So
thing is, how do
self-defense abuse?
How do you discern
yeah,
it?
how would you know? Like from the
And
outside
that's
looking in, how would you know?
And that's why you have to give each party the same respect. As far as if you're going to believe one side, you have to believe the other until you come to the actual truth. And I think that's very important as well. So it wasn't like, she came out with her allegations, had the proof, and he had nothing to defend himself with. There was no witnesses, there was no paper trail, there was no nothing. Then that would have been different. But he actually has some of those things, and I think I just
That's a
pray
lot of
for
those things.
whoever is wrong in this situation gets their due punishment, and that this situation kind of resolves itself.
And stop spilling over.
Yeah, because it just becomes a toxic circle where
Yeah, like they need to
you're
be
never gonna get
separated. Like
yeah, it's like two kids. You go in this room, you go in that room, and stay away from each other.
right, yeah, just separate, stay away. Heal from whatever the drama was. Like both parties just heal and kind of try to move on with your lives. I think that's probably the best solution.
If it's truly toxic, it's not as easy to say just leave, bro. That like
I
that's
mean, yeah,
is not
yeah.
that easy. If it's that
Well, 'cause
toxic as we
with
can
the
see
situation,
it
they need
is.
to sit them both down. Like,
And
well, what do you want out of this situation? Why are we doing this? Do you want him to be punished? Do you want her to be punished? Like, what
I
is
think
this?
they both clearly want each other to be punished.
They want each
and
other to suffer.
and who's to say like if someone was abused by another party for a long time, maybe it's not enough for them to just leave. Maybe they do want to see some sort of justice be served, and like who am I to say they don't deserve
They
that?
don't get yeah.
So like it's
Commander,
no, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, I was looking through the chat and she said some people uh don't truly believe that men get abused, and I feel like that the taking the what the son said out of context feels like a lie, because if he's getting abused in these same exact incidents that they're quoting and they're only saying one side, I don't see how that's truth.
Yeah, because they could have been beating each other. Who knows?
That's what
And
I'm
then,
saying.
it could have just been, that's how they show their love, just beating each other. Some people are weird. It's just like,
It's like
but
you go to the school and your kids beat up and you're saying, what happened? Oh, this kid beat him up, right? But your kid's in trouble.
I mean, because
Your kid's in trouble for being a bully.
they only see the
Where's
fight
that?
at the end and not necessarily the spark.
You see what I'm saying?
But I mean,
Like it's
like
funky,
it's
man.
really discouraging though, because it's like you can't get to the bottom of a situation like this. Like, you just can't. Like there's not gonna be an objective truth to it, because it's so toxic. It's gone on for however many years. Like there's so much wrapped around it, and all that toxicity is tied to your favorite wizard.
Yeah.
try to learn how to cast a spell or whatnot. So honestly, like my final point on this is just, with all of this in connection to Harry Potter, the Johnny Depp, the Amber Heards, the J.K. Rowling's tied to the situation. Like there's still tons of Harry Potter media coming out. Like how jazzed are you about actually participating in any of it? Because I mean, me personally, like, don't really care that much about Harry Potter. Thought the movies were fine. That's pretty much about it. Like I don't care at all about the rest of this stuff. Not looking forward to that new WB game that's coming out. But people were already saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to buy it if J.K. Rowling even receives royalties, even though it's her creation, because of the stuff she said." So, like, if you're, vehemently against, domestic abuse, or fighting very heavily for trans rights, like, how do you rectify those beliefs with maybe participating in, kind of a happy-go-lucky wizard fantasy? Like, do you jump out, or do you separate the two? Like that's what I wonder.
Yeah, and that's difficult.
Yeah, and I've been talking to my fiance about this recently. I'm still trying to find a way. I don't have the answer to this question, to separate the art, to appreciate art and not support bad intentions. I'm still trying to find a way to do that, and this is one of those cases where, I really want to get involved, and this universe that they've created, but it's supporting a lot of crappy situations, and
And people.
it's rough. And people, yeah, yeah.
But we'll leave that there because that's going to keep probably developing as time goes on. We're going to move on into all the N7-day news that we got. First up, Mass Effect trilogy is getting a remaster coming next spring. How excited are you guys for Mass Effect, the original trilogy? Jesse does not look very
I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually excited. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be great. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. BioWare is one of I'm not gonna say pioneers, but I would say one of the biggest choose your path, people out there right now, and I love that. I love having my own story. I love creating it, and Mass Effect I thought was a great version of that. I played the first one back in the day, and then my character transferred over to the second. Dope. I didn't get to play too much the third and Andromeda, and I know those, in most common opinion, those bombed, right? But
We'll get into that.
I'm still excited to see it as one succinct file and just boom, go through 1, 2, 3, because I think those are amazing, and I can't wait to go back to that story.
All right, what was your take, Jesse?
Yeah, I personally, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. If 3, Andromeda, the whole series, whatever you enjoy, I don't want my distaste for parts of it to lessen anyone else's enthusiasm. But wow, after I played 3 earlier this year for the first time, and after playing that, I couldn't understand how Andromeda would have been worse than that. It was terrible. I love 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are fantastic games, and I mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. Right.
Yeah, and someone brought up that they didn't like 2, and I was like, well, that's 2 might be my gameplay wise probably my favorite.
I'm in that camp.
Even though the story I think from 1 I like even more, and I was like, well, what didn't you like? And they said well, everything they mentioned I kind of agreed with. I still ultimately enjoyed it, but they were saying the loyalty missions fell flat. I totally agree with. Compared to other things, yeah, they did feel very tacked on. Most of them did. There were a few highlights, but that's about it. The exploration for getting resources, like mining planets.
That was very tedious, for sure. The weakest part of that game by far.
Yeah, even worse than the Mako.
I enjoyed that.
I didn't. And they mentioned a few other things, which once they mentioned them, I was like, those are all cracks that started in 2 that just opened up when 3 came out. Those were all things that I was like, because the characters in 3, what happened? And the choices in 1 and 2 were very dynamic. They were very even though you had you have to save this person, or you have to not save this person, or you have to do this or not that, and you understood there was a consequence.
Yeah.
But you really felt how much that's going to affect you on a personal level. Well, is this going to ruin my relationship with this crewmate, or is this going to put the galaxy in a bad situation because I'm going to put this in front of something else? In 3, it was always just a binary ass choice. Yeah. It's do you want spoilers? Do you want to kill the Quarians, or do you want to kill the Geth?
Right. Yeah. I can see that.
What a tough choice, huh? Yeah. And that, it did not have gravity to it. Every choice was like that. And the overall story just fell flat. I could not believe how I played it on PS3. I actually played all 3 games on different systems, so I never got to transfer characters. So how they allow you to make choices continue over if you don't have the save file is complete garbage, because I saved Rex in game 1. I would have restarted the game to save Rex in game 1, but I had enough Paragon to be like, yo, dude, just chill. And he was like, all right, man. And then the fact that I cannot have that is upsetting.
So it wasn't an option to carry over that to the second one if you hadn't. That really sucks. I didn't realize that was the case.
But it would let me choose between Ashley and the other guy. every time. It's like, who'd you save? It's like, I don't care about them.
Oh, that really sucks though.
Yeah.
But
And I haven't played Andromeda, but yeah, I hope that they repair some of that stuff, and I have heard the DLC for 3 is really good.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
I
yeah.
just
I
dislike
remember
the
the
main
DLC for
thing
3.
so much. Yeah, I dislike the main game so much. It's like, why would I bother? And like
3
how multiplayer worked in 3.
I thought that was
they'll-
actually good.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
enjoy multiplayer. Yeah.
That was
But
actually a good time.
multiplayer was in 3. Multiplayer is tied to your progression.
That's
in
true.
single
Yeah.
player.
That's true. Yeah.
But multiplayer is not a thing anymore, so I couldn't even use it
that
to
part.
help. So I automatically was like, well, you're going to get the worst ending regardless of what you do.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks. That sucks.
So
I did not even think about that part.
yeah.
When I was in the moment when it first came out, it was such a dynamic system that I was just, wow, this is amazing. But I can see going
Really?
back now, this hurts.
Yeah. What was, because I couldn't even experience the multiplayer because I played that one on PS3. What exactly was multiplayer like, and like it's like popular
I would
time?
probably describe it as a Mass Effect version of Gears' Horde mode. Like
Okay.
you and friends would be on a map. Enemies would kind of come in waves, and you had to use, your different class abilities because you could be a Vanguard, you could be a Sentinel, whatever. You would use those class abilities in conjunction with your teammates to fight off the waves of enemies, and like it was fun. It was legit like a good time.
Yeah, we used to
They
play
had many different class.
different
At least
class. You had the Vanguard. You had the
I know Vanguard is Sentinel. I can't remember the rest of them.
whatever the spy was.
Soldier?
It was a soldier because he didn't use any gadgets. He could use all the weapons, all the heavy weapons and everything. And he didn't use any force powers. I mean, not force powers. I don't know what they remember.
Biotics.
Biotics.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
But in terms of the trilogy itself, I do think the Mass Effect trilogy is an amazing trilogy. 1, 2, and 3. Like I know 3 is contentious. 2 is my favorite, but I think a lot of people forget that in a game that, like in pretty much any video game that talks about choice, or any story that talks about choice, like choose your own adventure type stories, the framework is like a diamond, they say, right? Like at the beginning, you get all these choices that break out into all these wide scenarios. So 2 is kind of the apex of where all this choice you see, like, okay, this is how different this is from that guy's game because of all the different decisions that were made. But then when they have to close the story at the end to like a final point, there are some games that will give you like 17 different endings and people find it satisfying. They chose to do something a little more, concrete, so to speak. Because the ending they gave, I do agree, is a little lackluster with kind of the exact same cutscene and like 3 different colors that supposedly represent whatever choice you made. Doesn't make sense. Not by itself, at least. But I do think their attempt, after, they caved to the backlash of trying to explain it more, like they released an additional cutscene or whatever to explain it more, I thought that fell really flat. Because all the speculation that came out to try and save and interpret what they meant by that original ending was actually pretty impressive. Like, it was like a dope ass ending if you focused on the community and what they thought about, all the things that played out over the course of that game versus what BioWare eventually said was the ending, which was dumb. If like I don't have a better word for it other than that. It was dumb how they ended it. Yeah. But I looked at 3 as the entire game is the ending, not just the very end of 3. Like you're saying goodbye to a bunch of characters throughout the entirety of that game.
Yeah.
Like so I enjoyed it. So
it's an actual finale.
Right, yeah, like the entire game was a prolonged goodbye.
I enjoyed all 3 except for the ending of 3. Because the ending of it made me feel like no matter what choices I previously made in 1, 2, or the beginning of 3, didn't matter when I got to the end of 3 because it all came to the same conclusion. I could have been a douchebag from start to finish, or I could have been the paragon of justice and truth. Either way, it ended the same exact way. And that's what killed it for me. I even got Andromeda. I played Andromeda,
Yeah, I
and
did too, actually.
Andromeda wasn't horrible, but you can tell this couldn't have been a finished product. It wasn't graphically, it wasn't even as good as three. As way the characters looked, there were no new races. We're in a different part of space for the most part, but we're not really coming up against too many different races either. There was like one or two, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it just felt like something was missing. It had a lot of cool things. You can craft weapons. You can do things like that. That was really cool. The jetpack was cool. It had some cool things, but it was definitely missing a lot. A lot of
I,
soul was missing from the
I
game.
I think what it was missing was kind of, and I'm gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself as I go on, but I feel like what it was missing was kind of the weight of the narrative from the first series. Like the characters you had there and the mission you had was way more important than everything that was going on in Andromeda. And Andromeda very much felt like a side story, and pretty much was. They literally tell you they sent a bunch of people out in the middle of nowhere, like
Yeah.
at some
Y'all gotta
point.
figure it out.
At some point between
Wow.
the second and third games, they're like, we just sent all these people out to like look for a new galaxy to colonize or something, and that's that situation. It has nothing to do with anything else, and you could forget about them and go back to the original story because it doesn't concern these folks we launched out into nowhere, right? But I want to say that what also kind of hurts the Mass Effect series is that the trilogy was such a grandiose universal adventure. Like it wasn't we have to save the planet, it wasn't we have to save the galaxy, it was we have to save the entirety of all the universe. You know what I mean? Like we have to save everything. And at the end of that story, they kind of did. Maybe depending on what ending you got, like it's muddy, right? So to move on from there, you're in a world that has to keep going back to everything that's going on there. When they might have had an easier time making a Mass Effect game that's just, a ragtag crew having adventures in like one solar system. Like why can't we
Yeah.
just have like little like Mandalorian style episodes of just what's going on over here, what's going on over there?
How
Like
would
it's
you
way
know?
less pressure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He said, "How would you know?" Oh
But with
man,
games like
one
that,
thing.
they have to either go so far in the future or so far back
Mm-hmm.
to
Make it
continue.
significant.
Yeah, when you kind of
Right.
make stuff in between games and it's not part of the central conflict, that kind of becomes so obscure nobody really pays much attention to it.
Yeah, because the main story absorbed literally everything in its gravitas. Like it was the main focus of everything everywhere you went. So like, there's no room to do anything else in that universe unless you send a bunch of people out into the middle of nowhere, which they tried and then it fell flat. So like, that kind of brings us to the final topic I want to get into is they've announced a new game. They said a veteran team of BioWare devs are going to be making a brand new Mass Effect. What the hell would you guys want from a brand new Mass Effect after Andromeda? Like, what do you think could work, I guess?
They need to just ignore Andromeda. And like I said, it neither goes so far back or so far forward where it gives them creative room to kind of do what they want. They can go back to the fall of the Prometheans. They can go so far to maybe the Mass Effect relay got fixed, and now you got these interspecies connecting again after being disconnected for however many years, whatever. But they definitely just need to kind of not do what they did with Andromeda. I mean, some of the mechanics were cool and whatnot, but like you said, the story is to me is what makes that Mass Effect a great game, and I think
True.
that was lacking.
Go ahead.
Oh, you go first if you want.
I really think that, and this is gonna be kind of, I left field. I like counterpoints. Give me a prequel flip side. I want to see how the bad guys came to be, the rise of the enemy. You know what I'm saying?
Reapers?
Yeah, let's see the Reavers. I want to see more of that inception and why they became such a big threat. You know what I mean? Just more backing on what Jeff was saying. Give me something in the past, give me something in the future, but make it connect to this trilogy that we spent a lot of time in and we want to love.
I don't know. I think that could be a double-edged sword, but go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, to Jeff's point, a Mass Effect so far in the future where everybody's getting back, like connecting again, but every area and species has changed so much. It's like a new encounter. totally not what I was thinking. Would love to see that. Kind of doubt it would be handled properly, but still real cool. See, I kind of feel the opposite. What I really want, what the thing that really connected me about Mass Effect 1 and 2 was the characters. So, yes, the entire sentient organic life was at stake in the overall plot. Absolutely. What I really cared about was my crew and the people I affected and how they felt. And I feel like a new Mass Effect game in the Mass Effect universe could totally work on a much smaller scale. And if they want to go meta, even having the events of Mass Effect 3 be in this looming presence of like, well, it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to be Shepard. But you're trying to do what you can as a single person in a massive galaxy.
That was like Halo ODST.
Yeah, so like the effects you make on a small scale with individual people, and then how that affects the story and the universe going forward on that sort of thing. That I think would be really cool because I do like the Mass Effect universe, but zoom in on it would be really nice.
I agree. I love the Mass Effect universe, but I think I would kind of want to go a completely different route than like another one of these BioWare-esque RPG adventures, right? Like, why not? Like, we have so many cool species and places to go and whatnot. Make it so maybe I want to play as a Geth. Maybe I want to play as a Quarian and whatnot. Make it like
MMO?
Elcor, sort of like an MMO, but probably an MMO. That's probably what I'm describing right now. But make it like an MMO, but like every person eventually can build their own crew. Like you like these characters, like make new characters that can be from different, races, whatnot. And then, you go through a personal story. Like your story is in relation to like your character's origins and like the people you meet's origins, and it's personal to you guys. It's just set in a Mass Effect universe. Like, because I really do feel like every other game is gonna suffer if it keeps referring back to the main story, because that main story is just so all encompassing. Like, there's not, like, what are you doing worrying about a relationship over here if there's not going to be any universe next week? Like, it's like, it's just, there's no way to get around that. So like, if they could somehow, like Jeff is saying, like put it in a situation where that's not a factor anymore and then just focus on a more personal scenario, I think we could get somewhere.
You want Mass Effect Legion. That's what you want.
No, I don't think that's right.
No? Because you're running
like
around.
a Watchdog X, like yeah, like it does, where you can play as anybody and
well, but I'm talking more like you pick a. I guess what I'm thinking is more like Dragon Age.
Okay, like Baldur's Gate type situation.
Right. Or like Skyrim or something like that, where you pick your race from all these races in the lore, and then you go about your story. And then, like, you have companions, and, like, they can be part of your crew, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, your decisions matter because it's a personal story based on the world and all the people you meet. So,
okay.
A different way depending on your race and...
Right. Yeah, like, your background would affect your story. And, like, so that would be replayable, infinitely replayable. Because if you get a different character that maybe you didn't have before as part of your crew, you can learn about them. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't like them. Maybe they die, maybe they don't die. Like, it affects the story. Like, it's probably a huge undertaking, but I don't know. I think that would be cool because I really do like that universe, and I would love to just have an excuse to explore it a bunch.
Was it Outer Worlds?
What about Outer Worlds?
It sounds kind of similar too, but I think with Outer Worlds it was more linear than probably you're describing.
I think so. If Outer Worlds is following like the Fallout formula, which I think is the closest relative, then that's probably a lot more linear than something like Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, no,
which is sort of linear, but it's like there's a path and then there's like all this stuff all over the place, and you could be all these different characters, and you can have all these other characters with you. Like that's what I'm thinking in my head would work very well for a Mass Effect type.
Quite
game.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But any ending thoughts on this, Jesse?
Yeah. Let me play an Elcor, you cowards. That's what I want out of a Mass Effect
that
game.
that would be funny. That should be a playable race, just cause.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But I think that brings us to the end of today's episode of Signature. I know we probably ran a little long. Sorry about that, guys. But real quick, let's just let people tell you where you can find stuff that they're working on. Jeff, you got anything coming up this week that you want to let people know about?
So with the release of Beyond Light for Destiny 2, I'll be playing that on Tuesday.
Hey.
Hopefully after I get my Xbox Series X. Fingers crossed. Before Tuesday, actually, which is funny. Monday, I'll be doing Monday Night Siege. So definitely come out and check that out. And yeah.
Nice. Jesse, how about you? What do you got that you want people to watch this week?
This week? I'm not sure. I don't think I have anything to watch this week. Well, game night tonight over on The Escapist.
Right. Exactly.
And then for personal stuff over on, we did a big, for RPG players, the big ridiculous magical item generator that we've made that can now do over, I believe, 6 billion items.
Wow.
We just did an update for that, and I have a new project coming out for that will be extra fun. And that's at rexiconjesse.github.io.
Nice.
Okay.
How about you, Blue? What you getting into this week?
Oh man. You know what? I'm still trying to finish up this Ghost of Tsushima. This story, and now that I'm in love with it again, I started doing side missions. So, because I don't want it to end.
It's gonna be a long while, I guess.
But yeah, I always love when people go through and we do the lo-fi, just chill, talk about lunch, whatever kind of stuff. So, yeah, we actually had a whole lunchtime on my last stream. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna be definitely on Friday, but spotty in between. There, if you join our Discord, yeah, you like that? Spotty in between. If you join our Discord, you'll definitely see when I'm going live, and you'll be in on that.
Nice. You can see me later today for Super Smash Sunday. That starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if Blue and Jeff will be joining me. They may not. Jeff will be.
I'll be there.
Blue.
Yeah, I'll be here too.
We'll be there. All right. So you'll see all three of us this afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern for Super Smash Sunday. You see me and Jesse on Escapist Game Night tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't know what we're playing yet. We find out when you guys find out. So, other than that, I may have a new review dropping this coming Tuesday, but who really knows anymore? It's kind of the wild, wild west over there right now. But if you haven't already, subscribe to all of our channels. You know, my Twitch, Blue's Twitch, Jeff's Twitch. Follow. I don't know, Jesse. Do you stream on Twitch?
I will be starting, but I haven't yet.
Okay, so follow Jesse's Twitch or follow his Twitter, and it'll tell you how to get to his Twitch eventually. All our names are surrounding our boxes. So thanks to all three of you guys for joining me for this. Thanks to everybody who was watching and chatting with us. Really appreciate it. That's going to do it for episode 5. Bye.
Bye, everybody.